So I watched a movie last weekend with my husband. It's called Limitless. Has anybody seen it? Uh, It stars this average-looking guy, Bradley Cooper, and he's kind of going through a rough patch in his life until somebody gives him these magic pills that change the way he can access parts of his brain, which essentially makes him limitless. With this new brain power, he can create experiences and opportunities and excessive amounts of abundance in all areas of his life. Now, I'm sitting back watching this movie, and I'm like, Bradley Cooper made a documentary out of my life without my permission. Okay, it's a little far-fetched. So I'm obviously not a guy, and I didn't take any magic pills, but I did have an experience that truly made me feel limitless. I'm going to take you back to January of 2014. I am living the American dream. I have way too high a debt, way too low a credit score, a lot of mouths to feed, an overpriced home rental, and a 9-to-5 job that was just as consistently soul-sucking as it was barely getting me by each month. I'm sitting in my cubicle, about to tell some business owner that they really need to market with my news station. And my coworker, Misty, pops over my cubicle and she says, "Hey, Rach, do you want to do the Chico bodybuilding show with me?" I was like, "You're crazy." No. Me on a stage in front of hundreds of people when I could barely give a presentation to a room of 5. Me on a stage in a bikini, let alone being judged in a bikini, in a town, might I add, where we had a lot of college students. It was a college city, and I was 32, so I was like a grandma. No, thank you. I'm pretty sure I said, hell no. So I went home, and my curiosity got the best of me. So I go on to the great resource that is Instagram, and I start researching what these bikini competitors actually look like. And I was mesmerized. Extraordinary physiques. Every line in their muscle represented hours of dedication that took them to that stage. And something inside of me was like, what if? And then the voice in my head said, "Oh, sweetheart, look in the mirror." And I would go look, and I would notice my varicose veins that got bigger with each pregnancy. And then I would look at my bra size, which was a size A and was quite frankly too big. I would see the scar on my stomach from where I had my tubes tied and the cellulite in my thighs, and I was like, yeah, not you. No, not you. And I went to bed, and sometime the next morning, between snooze button 3 and 4, I had this dreamlike vision in my head. I was standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people, and I could feel the heat of the lights and the burning from the stares of the judges, and I saw my family sitting in the front row, and they're like, yeah, screaming my name. And then I realized that I was in a bikini. But instead of being nervous or scared or feeling like I wanted to vomit, I actually felt really, really proud. And this vision felt so real that hours later, when I'm sitting in my cubicle at work, I think, what if? God, what if? And that voice in my head reminds me, girl, do you think you're one of those girls on Instagram? Yeah, you're right. So in my highly productive state, I get onto Facebook, and somebody shares a video from the great motivational speaker, Lisa Nichols. It's amazing. And Lisa said something that day that struck me. She said, when you put somebody up on a pedestal and say that they are extraordinary at something that you want to do, but you're not doing it, you're letting yourself off the hook for even trying. And I was like, oh, damn you, Lisa. But that was what I needed. I knew in that moment I was going to try. And I leaned over and said, hey, Misty, I am in. Now, something's wrong with my brain where when I go in on something, I go like all in. My husband back there, he's like, yeah, she's crazy. I get obsessed with stuff. So I start researching everything you need to know about bodybuilding competitions, and I find the best coach, and I book a consultation, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get the best coach in the area. And I start telling people, like friends, family, social media, people in line at the grocery store. I was like super excited. And then comes consultation day, and I'm standing in my bathing suit, And this guy, we're going to call him Ben for his protection, is standing in front of me, and he's staring at me for a real long time. So long that I'm starting to sweat in places that women don't want to sweat. And he says, you know, Rachel, this is a really expensive sport. In addition to paying me, you've got the competition fees, you've got the tan, the bikini, the supplements, all of the things, and it's really going to be a waste of money if there's no shot in hell you can win. Yeah, I know. And I said, well, why don't you think I could win? He said, well, your boobs are too small, you've got cellulite on your thighs, and you've got veins in your legs. Y'all, I don't remember if I ran out of there crying or if I waited till I got to the car, but it was like Deborah was saying, the hiccup crying. It was very ugly. And so I closed my eyes, and I'm trying to calm myself down, and when I closed my eyes, I saw that vision again. The audience, the lights, the judges, my family, and the pride, and it felt so real. And I knew in that moment I had to decide if I was going to believe in the possibility of that vision or in somebody's opinion that who doesn't even know who I am or what I'm capable of. And a fire sparked inside of me in that moment, and I knew that I was not only going to do the competition, I was going to bring home a freaking trophy. Yeah. So I started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get 2 hours of gym time in before I had to go home and meal prep, and then wake up my 4 children, and then go to work. And then on my lunch break, I would go back to the gym, and people started noticing. The gym owner came up to me and he says, Rachel, you're here all the time. What are you doing? And I said, I'm doing the Chico Bodybuilding Show. And he said, can we sponsor you? If you put our logo on your competition robe, I'll pay for your bikini. And I was like, that's a thing? Yes. Yes, you can. I was in NutriShop that same week trying to decide which supplements I could afford, and the owner comes up to me and he said, hey, I heard you're doing the show. Do you need a coach? And I said, I don't think I can afford a coach. And he said, well, if you let me sponsor you and I can put my logo on the back of your competition robe, I'll coach you for free, and I'll hook you up with some supplements and posing classes. And I was like, I was like a magnet for good fortune. Even when Misty, 3 weeks into this training, backs out saying she's not going to be ready and I am on this road alone, I held on to that vision in my head of the audience, the lights, the judges, my family, and that pride to get me through all of those scary moments. 16 weeks later, I kid you not, May 30th, 2014, 5 years ago to this day, I'm standing on the side of a stage waiting for them to call my number, and I feel this tap on my shoulder. It's that jerk, Ben. Oh, yeah. And he says, Rachel, I am so glad that you didn't listen to me. You look unbelievable. And then they called number 32, and it went something like this. Thank you. I stood on that stage, and it took my breath away. The audience, the lights, the judges, my family sitting in the exact same spot that I had visioned them in. Everything was exactly as I had pictured it in my mind. Now, I beat out over 30 kids and took home a second place trophy. Thank you. Losing only to a 19-year-old who has never had any babies, so I was on fire. Now, something really shifted in me that night. There's moments in your life where you cross a bridge and you can just never go back. I knew something had happened that had never happened to me before. That voice in my head, for the first time, I not only didn't listen to it, but I actually changed the dialogue of what it was even saying. Now, from this moment on, I went deep down into a rabbit hole of self-development and got slightly obsessed with the brain. Now, I have learned how to truly become limitless, and it all starts where? Your mind, right here. As Jim was saying, there's a thread in all of this. Now, I'm going to teach you guys something, and I'm not going to go too deep, but I want to talk to you about the difference between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, because this is the key to really becoming limitless. Your conscious mind is housing all of the thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs that you're actually aware of. It's about 5%. The other 95% is your subconscious mind, which houses all of the thoughts, behaviors, and beliefs that are so ingrained that it's running on an auto program in the background that you don't even know most of the time that's even happening. So things like walking, breathing, brushing your teeth, the same pattern, all of that kind of stuff is in your subconscious mind. And the reason why there is a subconscious mind is because if we had to process all of the information that came into our brain at any given day, we'd be like a pile of mush on the ground. So we need this automated programming. But it also controls all of your thoughts, your behaviors, the beliefs that you think repeatedly or that you hear from people repeatedly. And that turns into the voice inside of your head that says fear and failure are going to happen when risk is presented, which is what was always happening to me. Now, I can stand on this stage and tell you that I have learned how to reprogram my subconscious mind. I went from being terrified to talking or even standing on a stage to wanting to become a motivational speaker. And when I started going to event planners and saying, I want to speak at your conference, and they said, you need this weird thing called experience, I decided to build my own damn stage and created one of the most popular and well-known self-development summits in Portland called Spark. There's some pictures from one of our recent conferences. Thank you. I went from sleepwalking through my life and not really having anything extraordinary happen to me to being able to hang out with people like John Legend, Giada De Laurenta, Jesse Tyler Ferguson. I've thrown pizza parties for the New York cast of Hamilton. I've got to have dinner with country stars like Martina McBride, hang out with Anthony Anderson. Kind of cool, huh? I went from hating my job and barely making any money to quitting my job 3 weeks after that bodybuilding competition and starting one of the most successful things I've ever done in my life, Auroric Media. I grew my income almost 700% in less than 6 months. Now, I'm telling you this not to brag, though it is pretty cool. I'm not bragging. I want you to know that wherever you are in your life right now, whatever your current circumstances may be, you are there because of what you consciously, but mostly subconsciously, believe is possible for your life. So that can be a good thing or a bad thing, right? The good news is you have the power to reprogram your mind. Now, I could be here for the next 5 hours and teaching this, but I'm going to close with this advice. When there's something inside of you that's burning and you have this calling to do something, to be something, to create something, or to change something, but that voice in your head says you're not good enough, that you're going to fail, this is what you do. You quiet the chaos in your brain through meditation. One of the most powerful things you can do. You decide what you want, what you really, really want, and you visualize it every damn day. When you get that feeling in your stomach, that's your intuition, and it says to go do something, even though it's really scary, you do it. You create affirmations of the thoughts you actually want to plant in your head, and you say them over and over again. Heck, go stand on a rooftop and scream it until your subconscious mind changes it to truths. If you do this, Bradley Cooper could make a documentary of your life as well. If you do this, you truly can become limitless. Thank you.